There's a moment every chef knows. It's after service, your apron is soaked, your feet feel like bricks, and you can still hear the ticket machine running, even though it's not. And then you realize you're not just tired, you're living in a way that slowly takes pieces away from you. In the kitchen, we celebrate toughness, we celebrate pushing through, we celebrate no days off. But nobody talks about what that does to your body, to your relationships, or to your future. Today's guest is Chef James Avery, and he has lived every side of this industry. From pizza delivery in Jersey Shore, to training under world-class chefs, to becoming Gordon Ramsay's sous chef on Hell's Kitchen, and then stepping into the real pressure of ownership, the success, the failures, the kind of lessons that teach you who you are and what you're made of. And today, Chef James poses us one question. How do you build a great career in hospitality and still live a healthy and productive life? This conversation is about the standards. We get into the health and wellness of chefs, leadership without toxicity, sustainable business systems, and what to do when you're working two jobs, but you refuse to let the industry take your body. Because if you can't take care of the person holding the knife, the rest doesn't matter. My name is Chef Ismael, and this is Chef Ismael's Kitchen Quest. Chef James Avery, it's an honor and a privilege to have you on my podcast. I've had several big names, but not as big as yours, and I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to sit with me and joining me on this podcast. So thank you.
Absolutely, man. My pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So I want to get straight into it. And for those rare people who don't know who you are, who's Chef James Avery?
Well, most people probably know me currently as Gordon Ramsay's on-camera sous chef on Hell's Kitchen. I've also appeared on a few of his other TV shows. So over the last 15 years, I've kind of been in and out of some of his productions and television shows. But I am I'm a New Jersey native, restaurateur, chef. I started in this business 28 years ago, so pretty much a lifelong restaurant worker. Something I'm very passionate about. Outside of the world of being in restaurants, I'm a father of 4 kids. I'm a fitness enthusiast, so there's a lot of things I identify as outside of the world of chef, but that's me.
Yeah, so you mentioned fitness enthusiast, and we'll definitely get into that because I know that you've been pushing that really hard, and your stuff has been coming on my feed a lot, and I think it's a very important mission, especially in our community.
Yeah.
But before that, I want to get into your experience because a lot of us started off crawling before we can even start running.
Absolutely.
So when exactly was it the first time that you realized that you're not built like most people?
I think always I was never really a great student, in high school, but I always had a very strong work ethic. I hate to use the word chaotic, but fast-paced environments. And really just out of necessity and wanting to have money in high school, I started working as a pizza delivery boy, literally at 17 years old. The day I got my license, I already had the job lined up. And I loved restaurants. I spent time in restaurants. And even though I went on to, go to college, I continued working in restaurants, hotels. I did valet, busboy, barback, bartender, server. And around 21, I was like, I always had an entrepreneurial itch. I always knew restaurants were going to be the thing. And I really just felt like, well, maybe, being a chef owner is probably the way to go. So that was how I got into the kitchen. At 21 years old, I went to work for a corporate restaurant down in Orlando, Florida. Finished up college, went to culinary school, met my wife, moved back to New Jersey. And I really just spent time working for like David Burke. I went down to Atlantic City. I spent some time in the casinos. That was where I linked it with Gordon Ramsay. But simultaneously, I was still an executive chef opening up restaurants in Atlantic City down there. And that was really it. In my early 30s, I ended up becoming the sous chef for Hell's Kitchen. And then I opened up my first restaurants at the Jersey Shore when I was like 33 years old. So the Bonnie Reed, I opened a beer garden, did a couple other projects over the last 10 years. But I recently, for a multitude of reasons, I had a lot of success with the restaurants, but I decided that I wanted to sell them 2 years ago. Still pursuing another restaurant that I'm looking for right now, but I'm spending my time consulting while I'm looking for the other restaurant. And then I just launched my own community where I talk about a lot of things we'll get into today. But that's really my experience, man. Like I said, I've been in this for 28 years, over a decade as an owner. So I've been in both positions, seeing the business as both an employee and as an owner, and then a ton. I mean, I got my MBA in restaurant ownership over the last 10 years, and just the business of restaurants. So very, very, very good experience doing that.
Yeah, no, 28 years is a lot of years, and in 10 of those being an owner.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, we make mistakes,
Yeah.
and I'm a business owner too, and I made mistakes in my business as well, pretty bad ones. But what's a mistake that you learned early on in your career that you still like learned from it and you're moving forward?
Really, and to this day, it's definitely the numbers. At the end of the day, talented chefs, amazing concepts fail because the owners or the operators didn't have a full picture of the financial, or they were underfunded. Maybe they over budgeted somewhere, or they didn't really build out an appropriate model. So I think the biggest thing I've learned in the last 10 years is really just be so dialed in with the numbers. And listen, most chefs aren't. It's not our fault. It's just not how we're wired. But make sure that you have somebody on your team or that you've hired to really, whether it be a CFO or a really strong accountant, to really help you with the numbers. You may think you have the best idea, the coolest concept, the hottest dishes, the hottest, everybody has this hubris because they just think their idea is just going to be a grand slam. At the end of the day, if it's not a viable business model, you will fail. You will absolutely fail. And I've had businesses that I just, I thought this concept's going to be amazing. And it was a great concept. Guests love it. Guests were coming in, but the numbers weren't right. I didn't have the right modeling there. So that's a huge thing. If anybody is looking into owning a restaurant, really learn the numbers and learn them while you're working for somebody else. I believe when I mentor guys that come work under me, or girls that come to work under me, it's like, use this as a platform to pretend like you already own your restaurant. You have no risk. It's like playing with Monopoly money, but you get to manage and make mistakes, and I'll help you. But really, again, numbers, knowing how to schedule, because especially in today's day and age with margins being the way they are, and we could go on and be negative about it. I want to focus on solutions. The point is like, you have to be so diligent and conservative and over budget with numbers.
So for something like that, like, was that something that you had to outsource, maybe hire a CPA,
Yeah.
maybe something that you learned during your time in college?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. A lot of it's self-taught. I read a lot of books about it, specific to the restaurant. I was fortunate enough to have financial minded partners. Some of these guys were hedge fund guys. Some of them worked on Wall Street, investment banking. So they had really good understandings of like just cash flow and just the actual architecture of it. And then, having a really sound CPA. And a lot of it's doing your own homework. I'm constantly learning, constantly taking webinars on better financial practices, reading trade journals, all of that stuff. So a lot of this is, learn as you go, but really know the numbers. What was it? Marco Pierre White, right? Cookbook in one hand, right? The art side of the thing, and then a calculator in the other, and the math side. You need to have both. You can't have one or the other. You have to learn how to be right-brained and left-brained, and it's up to you to do that. And you should, yes, you can outsource. I said that, but you definitely want to have a basic understanding yourself.
Yeah, I think I want to say it was Mark Cuban who said that when he hired a CPA or CFO, that when they were talking about numbers, he didn't really understand what was going on. And
Mhm.
so then he went back to school and then learned,
Yeah.
because then that way he doesn't want to get, he doesn't want to, I guess, get ripped off if something happens, or he wants to be able to understand exactly what's being said.
Yeah.
Um, oh yeah. So the you mentioned books that you're reading about finances. What's one book that you recommend anyone to read?
Right here. Well, I'm actually going to plug my friend. This is a chef friend of mine, Craig Shelton. His book's The Enlightened Restaurant. He was a mentor and a friend of mine. He just wrote this book. It's very philosophical, but he breaks down the business and learning things about like contribution margin. Like we're so always hyper focused on food costs. So learning about like he does a great job explaining menu engineering and things like that. Restaurant Success by the Numbers. This is another great book. It's just I literally have them on my desk, and I'm constantly rereading and reading them. So I would say that the Restaurant Success by the Numbers and then The Enlightened Restaurant, um, both two really good books that'll kind of give you, you should know how to do break even. Chefs today with too much back of the napkin kind of, oh, well, the food costs kind of this, let's multiply it by 4. Like that's not a business model. Like you should know how many covers you have to have based off that. How many kitchen guys can you have? And really like those books will do a great job of explaining that. And those are what I recommend.
Oh, awesome. So I do want to get into Hell's Kitchen, because
Yeah.
a lot of us knew you from Hell's Kitchen and know you from Hell's Kitchen. You just came back, right, from season 24?
Yeah. So I was on the team 11, 12, 13, and 14. And around season 14 is when my family began to grow. I had a couple opportunities to do my restaurant. So I took a 10-year break. And then I just came back for seasons 23 and 24. So
How did that opportunity come by?
to originally or to come back?
Originally and come back, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
So when I told you I was in Atlantic City at 29, I'd been in kitchens for, this is a good story. So for X amount of years, really just kind of busted my hump, but like without like a real definitive goal. Like, I did like a seasonal restaurant with my family. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to Atlantic City. I'm going to go work for this guy. His name's Chef Anthony Amoroso. He was the executive chef of Sea Blue by Michael Mina in the Borgata. And I went down there and I just took a low paying job to really just like be in the right space and like the right kitchen and learn from the right people. I'm like, I'm not young, but I'm also like not beyond like taking a job that's a little bit like beneath my pay scale. And I worked really hard there. I worked really, really hard. And he actually was the one who connected me. So Anthony, my chef at the time, was friends with Chef Andy, who used to also be the sous chef. She was a Michael Mina chef for a while, and she moved on to work with Gordon, both on and off camera in his restaurants. And they were filming Kitchen Nightmares, and a relationship was made there. So I went and helped them all on. I took a little break from the restaurant and went to go on the road with Kitchen Nightmares. Built a rapport with Gordon that way, was featured on camera as a consultant. Came back to AC, went on to open a few restaurants with Be Our Guest Hospitality Group. And one day I got a random phone call. And it's like, hey, this is a producer from Hell's Kitchen. Gordon is replacing, or not replacing, but, Gordon's looking for a new chef. Scott, the guy that was there for the first 10 seasons, is moving on. And, you're one of the guys in contention for the spot. Did an interview. The rest was history, So I did that for 4 years, and I would go to LA, and I'd live in West Hollywood, and we'd film, and I'd go back home, and I'd get a consulting job or a seasonal job. My family was young at the time. My wife, and my kids were holding it down, and I could go do that and piecemeal it. But after it was like 2014 was when I was like, I'd done 4 seasons of Hell's Kitchen. I reached out to Chef, and I just said I had this opportunity to do a restaurant in my backyard. I want to take a go at this, and he understood. I kept that relationship going always. I've always would check in with Chef. Every couple of years he'd be filming in New Jersey. We'd meet up. I'd end up being featured on camera. Like that one episode of 24 Hours to Hell and Back when he wore that pilot costume. That's me underneath that suit. So I did that for him. So we always stayed in touch. And I knew I was about to sell my restaurants, and I reached out. I was like, listen, I'd love to come back if you need anything, and have me back. So here I am again.
No, that's awesome. So you're running service on the line with Gordon and the team, right?
Yeah.
So I want to know what's happening in your head when you're calling out tickets or and someone is like drowning.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, Gordon is the one. He's really the main expediter, so he goes back and
Right.
forth to the kitchen. So my job really is just like any sous chef. You know, in a fine dining restaurant, there's the head chef, and then the sous chef is kind of there helping plate, kind of just like being a little bit of the glue between the two entities. And that's really what I do. So in my mind, it's like, what does chef want? When he's in the kitchen, I'm just kind of taking a back seat, letting food come. If I see something that's not right, it's like, hey, chef, the risotto, I don't know, you might want to check it out. And he'll be like, yeah, it's too salty. Then he'll go and come up here or, whatever. Or it's to calm them down. It's like, I have to, I do a lot of mental coaching on that. And that's a sous chef's job, right? You're a support system for the brigade. And that's a lot of what I do. So there's not like there's anything in particular on my mind. Like, I've kind of gotten, I don't want to say I've ever gotten used to Gordon Ramsay being like elbow to elbow with me, but it's in that moment, I'm like, it's just dinner service, it's just dinner service, just dinner service. A little chaotic, but it's just dinner service.
Is it
Like,
still like a surreal moment for you just to be working side by side with Chef?
100%, 100%. It to this day, it's like, wow. I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful for all that. It's very surreal, especially when you get to be around him, because he is a really positive person. He's just a tremendous worker, and just everything he does is just like, and he was a hero of mine before I even met him. So yeah, it's very surreal to think like I started this journey. I mean, I was in culinary school when Hell's Kitchen premiered. I remember thinking, oh, that'd be cool to be on that show one day. I mean, I remember thinking that, like seeing it in a magazine, like, and to be there now and like look back on it, it's you might get a little used to it, but then all of a sudden, like out of nowhere, you're like, holy shit, like that's really happening.
Yeah, no, I mean clearly a hero of mine as well, as you
Yeah,
can see in the picture in the back.
mm,
um,
yeah, that's cool.
it's signed too. I never met him.
Good for you. I mean,
No,
he was
but
best to do whatever. But by any metric you want to say it, he did.
yeah, no. I mean, okay, you said you were in culinary school when you first saw him on Hell's Kitchen, right? And I think I was like in oh man, I think I was like either in the fifth or sixth grade watching Hell's Kitchen for the first time too. And I was like, dang, like this is crazy. Just watching it with my brothers. I'm
Yeah,
the only one who turned out to be a chef. But the and my brothers are actually personal trainers too.
there
Just
you go.
so but yeah, anyways, the I remember watching that and I remember like the services being very difficult at times.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, what was the hardest service you've ever worked on the show and what made it so difficult?
Well, to be honest, man, like they all kind of blend together. Like, cause it's like it's a lot. It's chaotic. It's fast moving. I've done multiple seasons, so it's like I've had. I mean, there's episodes where they just can't. They just completely melt down
Yeah.
because it's number one. It's a French style expediting system where it's orders are being called out. Cooks today are very spoiled. They're used to having a printer right in front of their face, and
Mhm.
they don't have to talk to the chef. They don't have to this. They don't have to that. They don't have to coordinate. Um, and when now they're put into a system where there is no tickets, you have Gordon Ramsay shouting a ticket to you, like telling you what's on fire, what's on hold. It's a very intimidating thing. Um, and if you have the wrong personalities, even if it only takes two or three, and it just goes and it just kind of like locks up the service. There was one service in particular, like I think it was season 11. There's a video of me, like, but basically the blue team just kept losing. They just couldn't get through dinner service. So like they gave me like an entire day to like, all right, let's take it from the top, right? Like, and we did a training, we did a training, we did a training. We got into dinner service and they just melted down, and like all this halibut came up just raw, And he looked at me. He was like, "So you trained it? Like, that was after a day of training, James." Kind of like I felt it. Like, I mean, I guess I failed because they didn't get it, and I went upstairs and threw the halibut at him, and that was like I was pissed off.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of the worst ones because I felt like I didn't like I take a lot of pride in my training and like how I teach people, and I like to think I do a good job explaining. I just felt like that, like it was me, So that was a hard service.
Oh man, I feel for you on that one. The,
You all wake up the next day though. Nobody dies.
Yeah. No, that's true. So in your opinion, what separates the contestants who make it all the way to the black coats, all through to the ones who get eliminated? Essentially, does that make sense?
Yeah. I think what separates them is the same thing what separates successful chefs in any kitchen. It's mindset. It's having like fortitude and being able to like make a mistake and get yelled at and bounce back or stumble and fall behind, but like don't make a bad situation worse. Just make adjustments and keep going. Right. Like that to me is everyday life. That is every profession. That is everything. So there's no secret sauce to becoming a black jacket. It's being consistent. It's being resilient, right? Having mental toughness because it's a grind. It's a hard, I tell, when I first meet the contestants, when they first come on, first thing I always do is tell them, like, I'm impressed by, I give every one of you a tremendous amount of credit because this is a very difficult competition. This is a very difficult thing you're doing. You're out of your element. You're doing a very hard thing with new people in a new kitchen. That is not like a normal kitchen. There's cameras on you and you have the most successful chef in the world, like right next to you. And if you're not used to that, like it's all hard. So I tell them, I give you a lot of credit. Now, with that being said, let's just cook food. All right. We're in here. It's just a kitchen. Let's cook. And so I think like what separates the ones that win and the ones who get kicked off are the ones that can't get that mental block, right? They have to stay it's just another day in the kitchen. It's just another day in the kitchen, bounce back. Don't let all the other stuff freak you out too much.
So I want to get into the leadership aspect of things because, not only are you leading the blue team, but you're also leading your restaurants.
Yeah.
And I want to know where's the line between intensity and a toxic kitchen.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, there is a fine line. You have to, I think, look, have I had moments in the kitchen that I've not been proud of? Yes. They happen very few and far between. Maybe you blow your temper. Maybe it's like the final straw. Maybe it was deserved. Maybe it was warranted, I think applying pressure is an art that you just learn how to do it over time. In the very beginning of my career, I was kind of a tyrant because I thought that's what you were supposed to be. I thought that's just how people respond. But I think in today's day and age, more than anything, calm, cool, collected, and composed chefs are going to win, right? Because you need calmness in kitchens now. And I think having high standards and holding people accountable all day. Like most chefs I don't want to say most chefs, but it's very easy to kind of dismiss the day and let music play and walk around out of uniform. And then all of a sudden you get the service and you expect excellence. I expect excellence all day. I expect it when you walk in the door. I expect it when you set up your station. I expect it when you tie your apron around your back. I expect it how you fold your towels on your station. And I'm not talking about fine dining. You can do that in a luncheonette pancake house. But like I expect a certain standard of professionalism and execution. So when you apply that pressure like constantly throughout the day, you don't have to have these like screaming, crazy pans flying, tempers flying during service. It's just that's been the baseline of the day.
So during service, how do you correct someone publicly without humiliating them?
You don't. Well, there's a really good book, and everybody should read this, called The 1 Minute Manager. You never really want to correct people. You never want to like embarrass them, right?
Right.
At the same time, you can't pull off every single person out of the kitchen and have a one-off every time something's wrong because you'll just never get through service. So delivery is important, right? You never want to basically criticize the technician, the cook. You want to address the behavior or the product, right? So, hey, I'll ask a question. Steak comes in the window. It's been sitting up there. It's all runny. Maybe the garnish kind of is dyed because they came up too quick. And I would say, if I serve this to you and you're on a date for the first time you're out on a date, would you be happy? Would you be happy paying $45 for it? And they just take it away and do it. I never go, that's bullshit. Don't give that to me. It's questions. Is that the best you can do? Is that how we do it now? Is that so you do it, never use sarcasm. Unless you're joking, it's like you're trying to keep it, but I very rarely use sarcasm in a real coaching moment. It's very serious. It's always question based. Let them arrive at the answer. Never humiliate anybody. And if somebody's going down, sometimes I'll just literally send a sous chef, like, dude, he's having a hell of a night. Just go get me, just go change the bun on this burger. This one's burnt, and then you can do a proper sit down, but you do have to be like a hawk, but again, it's the best way to correct somebody is not having to get in the situation to do it in the first place. Like if you're applying pressure all day, if you're checking mise en place, if you hold people to a standard all day long, you don't have these huge breakdowns in service that require like a massive correction,
Yeah, no, I definitely understand. Yeah, I think another I kind of want to add on to what you're saying too, because another thing that is extremely important would be having those team huddles after service, right? And that's something that I've been preaching on my Instagram page, where it's like, okay, it's not just from my perspective. What I'm seeing is also the team's perspective as well, right? Because we all see different things at times, and yes, as the chef, as I kind of correlate that to being the coach of a basketball team. You're seeing everything on the outside, but you're not really seeing it in terms of like, oh shoot, maybe said person's getting, is drowning on the line, and I'm not seeing it, in his eyes,
Right.
So yeah.
At the end of the day, man, like it's all, to me, I always go back to, it's all about the guest. Like every one of us in here, the chef, I'm not the main character. The guest is. I'm here for the guest. We're all here for the guests. The guests, we need the guests more than they need us in their life. So it's the guest, right? So I never, I am very protective of like my actions and my words. Like how is this going to impact the chef? If I rip this guy a new asshole, is that going to make the guest experience better or worse? It's my ego. It might make me feel better. I might be able to take my frustration out on them, but it's not really going to help service. So always, I think one thing that I talk about in terms of mindset and leadership, it's always like, ask yourself, like, how is this going to impact the guest? Is this helping or not helping? Is this helping service or not helping service? Everything you do, there's no like neutrality. It's either making it better or making it worse. So you can add kerosene to this fire by like blowing up on somebody. I mean, honestly, if you're going to like blow up on somebody, just kick them off the line. So you got to just go home. You're having a bad night. I'll do it. You go home. So that's been done to me when I was coming up,
Yeah.
But that's how you do it. And then you have those huddles afterwards. That's when you regroup. So, what happened? How did that happen? Well, you went down because you weren't prepped. You weren't prepped because you were on your cell phone for an hour before service. Goes back to maintaining a standard all day long.
So what's one leadership lesson that you learned the hard way, maybe from your own ego?
I think, my first executive chef job, I was sarcastic. I thought like being a sharp, punchy, because at the end of the day, I never really, that's how it was 20, 30 years ago. It was toxic. It's what it was. I don't want to say that it was better or worse. It was just, that's how it was. And I didn't really necessarily respond negatively to it. I just was like, okay, the chef's being a jerk, but I don't want that to happen again. But so when I finally became a chef, I kind of thought that would work. And that was like kind of when you're starting culture and kitchen culture and society, just moving away from that toxic kitchen culture. But I learned the hard way. Like I had mutiny, like people were just not responding to me, and I sat down with my director of operations. And again, this is 30-year-old James, started reading books about management, about leadership, a lot of Stephen Covey, Ken Blanchard, 1 Minute Manager, who moved my, just reading all these books from like really starting to focus on like, what's required of a chef that has nothing to do with cooking? Like what is really going to make operations good, make people want to come work for me? But yeah, I mean, I had a really hard time with that in the beginning, being a jerk, being very like stoic, and that's not even stoic, very staunch in these pre-shifts with servers, and servers were kind of maybe a little bit, because I'm 6'3", covered in tattoos, and it's like I could see how a teenage server might be a little intimidated to approach me about something, especially if I'm not like smiling at pre-shift. So learning those lessons were pretty valuable.
So if there's one lesson that you could actually not lesson, if there's one habit that you could install into a young cook, what would it be?
Like a tactical habit, like a working habit, or just kind
You,
of.
yeah, I guess is for someone who wants to be an executive chef, right? Or even a sous chef, someone who wants to grow in the rankings. What's one thing that they can do today so they can get closer to that step?
I mean, learn. I say this all the time, like what I just said, like learning other skills. Um, Part of what I'm doing a lot now on my social media and in this mentorship community that I'm trying to get off the ground is really, when I became a chef, like I told you, I wasn't perfect at it. And there's really no culinary school or even on the job. You're mostly just taught the technical abilities needed to become a chef. And then, the ordering, the filling out a banquet event order, all the things we do in kitchens, that's what you're taught. Nobody's really taught like goal setting or planning, or what do I want? Like, what's my vision for my career? I guess it's not so much a habit as to something that I want younger chefs to do, is really have a vision of what do you envision your life to look like? Because many of us say, oh, I want to be a chef. And they go work at some restaurant, and 10 years later, they're a chef. And now it's like, well, now what? I'm not happy. My finances are screwed up. All I did was spend the last decade or decade and a half learning how to get good at this. And now my life is in shambles. Build a life outside of being a chef. Don't attach your entire meaning and identity in life to being a chef. Like, it's a great profession, it's a great career path, but there is more to life than being that. So have a vision of what you want your life to look like. What do you like? Me, I know we're not talking about family, but I knew I love my wife. I've been with her since culinary school. We have 4 kids, 1 in college. That's what I wanted. I wanted a life with her. I wanted to, but I also wanted to be a successful chef and own restaurants. So I always had this vision, and I made sure, whether it was consciously or subconsciously, to make decisions that aligned with that vision. Right? Do you want to be a Michelin star chef, or do you want to be the kind of guy that's home on Sundays? Or do you not? Do you want to work a normal work schedule? Michelin chefs are working 15-hour days. If that's something you value, that's not the kind of chef you want to become. Simple, right? But like, nobody's really mentored to think about that type of stuff. It's just kind of like, go learn how to become the best cook in the kitchen, then you'll be a chef. So just start, if you really want to be a chef, start thinking about what does that look like to you? Because there's a lot of ways to be a chef, a lot of things you can do with it. It's just, what does that look like to you?
So earlier in your answer, you mentioned about your the new venture, or the added venture that you're trying to jump off the ground. For those who don't know, what is it that you're doing in terms of like the consultations as well as the fitness aspect of things?
So, like I told you, I did sell my restaurants, and I have some downtime because I'm planning to go film in a few months again, and I just have some other things going on. I wanted to take a little time and do some passion projects, and I would say, I mean, there's no denying that the industry is in a bit of a funk with, like, we're having labor shortages, and we're having a lot of negative I guess, perceptions of what it is of being a chef, and all the industry is so hard on you, you can have no life, all these negative things. And I'm trying to make it a point that that's not the case, right? It can be it can be hard on you. It can be hard on your family. It can be, but a lot of that stuff is self, what's the word I'm looking for? self-inflicted, right? So what I love about being a chef almost as much as making food or creating concepts is helping people, mentoring people, coaching. I love it. I coach kids sports, my son's sports. I love it. It's the most fulfilling thing for me. So I love sharing all these things I've learned over 28 years, multidisciplinary and tools and things that I've learned. So I launched what's called the Modern Brigade, and the Modern Brigade is an online chefs community, and it does a lot of things, right? So it's for people that want to go and learn how to grow their career, grow their income, improve their work-life balance, learn specifically about how health and wellness and mental illness relates to their business. So this is a chef community. We live in isolation. And here's why. When you become the chef in the given restaurant, right? The average restaurant, like that's it. You're at the top. I remember the first time I became a chef about a year into it, and I was at a place that I was the top guy. And I'm like, I don't have anybody I can call and ask a question. I have nobody I can go to for advice. When I go to my sous chef and tell him I'm having a bad day. And it was like, it's very lonely. And that also leads to mental illness and isolation and depression and anxiety and all these things. My thought was like building a community where like you have endless amounts of people in your situation and you can ask them questions and you can feed off each other. You can keep each other motivated. I also want to use that as a place where I can go on and talk about things, address certain issues. How do I manage my health and wellness program? How did I keep my marriage intact for 20 years? How did I maintain work-life balance with my kids? And I want to share that because I want people to love this industry as much as I do. I want people to love being a chef as much as I do. There's a lot of problems in this industry right now. Chefs they work too much. They're underpaid. I'm the first one to say that. But we have to change our mindsets, and if it's going to change, we have to be the ones to do it. And I feel like it's easier to do that if everybody's on the same page. And by building this community, I'm hoping to get some headwind with that. Yes, is it a business as well? Yes. I mean, I'm investing time, I'm investing money, all of the above. But at the end of the day, make no mistake about it, I'm a chef, and I care about my fellow chefs, and I want to make this industry great. And I want to make this profession great. I want people to get paid for how hard they work. And I want creativity to be rewarded. And I don't want to hear things like cooking destroys your body. It's bullshit. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I am right now currently trying to find 3 chefs, both jobs. You need about 3 to 5 years experience, and they're all paying $150,000 a year with benefits, vacation, all that stuff. There's jobs out there. You need the right candidate. So it's like, that's what I say. Like there's opportunity everywhere. You just have to be the kind of person who's ready to sit into that opportunity. And I'm also, doing that as well with people. So yeah, it's a lot. There's really no elevator pitch for what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, and like I told you earlier, and I also mentioned this before I started recording. I believe in what you're doing, and it's a really good mission that you have, because at the end of the day, so my son goes to military school. I did the police academy thing before even becoming a chef.
Uh-huh.
And one thing that they taught us, and they're teaching my son too, is a strong body is or a strong mind, or a strong body is a strong mind, right?
100%.
And I think that having a group like that, especially when trying to address the various mental health issues, the stressors, and then also the how hard it can be on your body,
Yeah.
it's extremely good that you're doing that. And I want to know what's the single easiest nutrition that a line cook can do today in order for them to excel in their health?
This is the most important thing. And so if I had to give a young cook advice, I would start with your personal health and well-being. Why? This is a long play. If you rush to becoming a chef, it's because you're in the wrong operation. You're just getting put into a situation you shouldn't be in. This should take time. Oh, and the whole idea is that when you get to the end of it, you're healthy, your mind is sharp, you're fit, and you get to enjoy being there for a period of time. So health is, like, to me, it's baseline. It's the most important thing. So your question is, if I'm a young line cook, right? And honestly, like, it's grunt work. You're working hard. Focus on protein. I've never worked in a restaurant where I don't have access to a burger patty or a chicken breast. So you can eat that. But I watch what my cooks eat sometimes. I mean, they're eating cheeseburgers, they make cockamamie like chicken tender sandwiches with cheese and aioli on it. I'm like, that's not. And then you wonder why your stomach hurts. Mm-hmm. Like have a scoop of rice or whatever. So focusing on protein. And then after work, like not going out. And I get it. Like you may not have a ton of money in the beginning of this, and like, fast food is cheap, but it's cheap, a ground meat and some rice, and I'm not saying you shouldn't indulge or have a few fun things, but like 80% of your diet should be like whole foods, like a meat and a vegetable. And that's at your fingertips in any restaurant. It is. It's, if you're not eating like that, it's because you don't want to. So my suggestion is that you eat, very protein rich, hard boiled eggs, a cup of yogurt, things like that. And stay hydrated. And I'm guilty of it too. As it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm drinking my second coffee, but I'll drink 2 gallons of water today, gallon and a half of water today. It's very easy to typical day of a line cook. You get to work around 1, let's say 1 or 2, let's say 2 o'clock. If you're at the average dinner restaurant, right? You're going to work at dinner service until 10. So you're going to go in, you probably have an iced coffee in your hand. You're going to go to work, set up your station, finish your coffee, probably have one more before service. Then you're going to start drinking soda. They're going to be bringing you sodas or Sprites in quart containers. You probably have 2 of those, which is a half a gallon of soda. Then you're going to switch to alcohol after your shift. You're going to wake up, maybe or maybe not, you have a glass of water, and you'll get to your coffee again. Like dehydration is one of the worst things for your body. Oh, and by the way, we work in a hot environment where we're constantly sweating, right? So hydration. I would have a physical gallon of water that you fill it up in the morning and you have to get it done by the end of the day. So that would be like, so focus on protein, make sure you get a gallon of water in every day. And I would add salt, like just a pinch of sea salt, because again, we perspire a lot more than the average profession. Therefore you get dehydrated easily. Replacing those electrolytes with minerals and salts like that is super good for you. It's easier on your kidneys. It's good for your liver. So brain function, like our brains don't function when we're dehydrated and malnourished. It's like, I'm telling you, and you can fight when you're a young person in this game. I did it till I was 30. And all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, I don't feel right. Like I'm not reacting to things a certain way. I don't feel energized. And then you start getting resentful. Then you start blaming the job. Well, it's like the job didn't tell you not to drink water. The job didn't tell you to eat whatever the crap food you're putting in your body at the end of the night. So,
the whole salt thing, I honestly just heard about that maybe like 3-4 months ago from my friend. He works at a gym, and he was telling, because I've been drinking a gallon of water a day. I started doing 75 hard, and for like the 10th time.
Yeah.
I keep failing. But
I'm trying to do one I'm trying to modify it for chefs. I'm trying to think of one that's practical because it's too hard for chefs to do.
Yes, it absolutely is.
I shouldn't say that because I have a chef friend who's lost a ton of weight doing it, Eric.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Eric, he does it religiously every January. He's done it for years, and he's like cut his body weight in half. But like the average person, like it might be kind of like a lot to go from not taking care of yourself to doing 75 hard. So I'm trying to think of like gallon of water, 3 workouts a week, something like that. But anyway, you were saying water.
Yeah, no, that's good. So like the whole thing with the salt and water, I mean, I've always thought that having, I don't know why, I had these crazy conspiracy theories about a certain brand of water that I'm not a fan of. They have like salt in it, and I honestly thought to myself, like, they probably are putting salt in it so you're continuously getting thirsty and you can continuously buy that water. You know what I'm saying? But then also the pH level is important.
What's that?
The pH level is another important thing.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be into that. Like I would drink like smart waters and pH waters. Like at the end of the day, let's not get the confuse the boulders for the pebbles. You know what I'm saying? Like don't sit here and not drink water because you're questioning the pH. Like just get a gallon. I don't care if it's tap water. You know what I mean? Like just get the water, be hydrated. But yeah, like you can nerd out on it. Like I drink Fiji, but we have a certain filtration system in my house. But I hired a fitness coach 5 years ago, and he was the first one. He's like every morning big, 24-ounce glass of water, teaspoon of Celtic sea salt. The gray one has more minerals in it.
Mm-hmm.
Slam that with a lemon. But now I just put it in my gallon of water. So I get like a teaspoon of sea salt a day, barely taste the salinity on it, but it's enough to keep your electrolytes, which are important. Your body is one giant electric system that needs water as well. So it's like, and we don't give it that. It's like, it's the simple, there's no secret to any of this. It's just simple things that you have to just commit to doing and don't look back.
So if you had to pick one, sleep, training, dieting, what comes first for chefs and why?
Sleep, training. I think more recovery. I mean, if I had to say one thing, I would say have a really be kind to your body. Like you can't see it, but I have all around me, I have like contraptions, like bands and rolling foam rollers. I think taking care of your body is important. Like have good footwear. When you get out of work, don't go out. Like it's so tempting to be, oh God, let's go blow off some steam from the stress. Like that's the first step into the trap. Like in your 20s as a line cook, you're going to start going out and drinking because you can get up in 5 hours hungover or off no sleep at all. Trust me, I was there. And but then you get into this vicious cycle where you're burning yourself out without even knowing, and then you wake up, you're 30 one day. So I think building really good habits of work is done. I worked really hard. I was present all day. I maintained a certain level of excellence of myself. I'm going home now. I'm going to have a nice, nutritious meal. I am going to do a stretch routine, maybe take an Epsom salt bath. I do that, put my feet up on the wall. I mean, I show stretches on my Instagram, like what I think, the main ones you should be doing. I think there's a few more. I'm not, we continue posting that, but having some type of recovery routine, because it's not the cooking, we do repetitive motion. Any job, being like an accountant, this could destroy your elbows and shoulders over time. It's not being a chef. It's that you do these things and you don't do anything to offset it. So I think the recovery is really important, and sleep, really learning how, and I get it. You're in a high energy environment. You want to go out and unwind or have a few beers or whatever. But I think learning how to go home and giving yourself a couple hours to get a good night's sleep so that you can get up in the morning and have a life, go to the gym, run your errands, do whatever. So I think I would start with that, like a good nightly post-work routine, but exercise, man. I mean, you got to stay fit. You gotta stay fit. So it's kind of hard to say what's more important than the other. I don't, if I have to miss a workout, I really don't mess up my diet very much. If I wake, but I also will miss sleep to get up and go to the gym. Like if I got to bed late, I'll still get up earlier to go to the gym. I don't want to miss my gym time, but it's all important. It's all part of a thing that you have to really care about, your health.
So okay, quick, actually, before I say that, you mentioned that our industry is overworked and underpaid.
Mm-hmm.
And here in California, there was a time in my career when I was a line cook and I was working 2 jobs. Okay. When for those who don't know how to, I guess, put that into their schedule or something like that, when do you train? When do you eat? When do you sleep? What advice would you give the person who's working 2 jobs trying to make ends meet?
I mean, here's the thing where it gets weird, right? And I don't have every answer. I don't pretend to have every answer. When you start in this career, you're not going to make a lot of money. It's just, you're not going to make a lot of money in any career. You're not going to make a lot of money as a nurse. You're not going to make a lot of money if you're an entrepreneur. You're not going to make a lot of money if you're a barber. I mean, there's a lot of things where in construction, you're going to be pushing a broom for $17 an hour.
Yeah.
So the ends meet and living wage, all those things are kind of like they're not a real number. I don't think you have to but let me ask you this, why were you working 2 jobs? What was your number?
So
getting 20 hours a week at each place, or were you working 80 hours a week?
No, yeah, it was definitely about anywhere between 20 to 30 hours a week, and then um, working two jobs because I was a young father,
Yep.
right? And had to support a family at the time.
Yeah. It's hard, and there's no easy answer for that. You know what I mean? Like, and that's I wish there was. And sometimes that's what it is. I mean, that's a story as old as time. A single father, or the mom staying at home. I worked several jobs at one point too, when my wife was home. But ultimately, I think a lot of things have to begin changing. I think my so I may answer your question. So my advice is find a better place to work. What I don't understand is everybody's saying, like, so when I say overworked and underpaid, um, that may have been like a little bit of an of a blanketed statement. Like, I think chefs specifically, I don't know if line cooks are, because the places I work at and consult for, they're like, no overtime, done. So it's like line cooks are wanting more hours, which is a problem, right? Because the wage isn't enough. They want, but like then the overtime, and there was a tax implication there. So, but I think chefs ultimately end up having to kind of subsidize a lot of labor, hourly labor, right? And I want to see them do better. And I'm trying to like frame that for like businesses. Like, how do you get it to where it's more sustainable? How do we change our models? How do we, like, and a lot of these chefs too, they do it themselves. They want to make everything from scratch. I'm like, there's products that I can show you can bring in. There's operational things like, why do you want to change the menu every night? Why do you want to have specials all the time? Like, that's all adding stress, versus like focusing on like different things. Um, I just think one thing that I see a lot, and if somebody I would love as an owner, I'll speak as an owner, right? Because I get it. I've been on both sides, and as an owner, and I have no skin in the game right now. Like I'm kind of in between restaurants, so I'm not telling you to come work for me, but it's like I have so many people that come and work, and there's definitely a work ethic dip right now. And it's like they want to be able to call out and get, oh, I'm going to a concert next weekend. Sorry. Like, I see it both ways. I see the people in the industry also not really respecting the ownership, kind of like, this is just a job. Screw it, I can quit. Right? They're not going to be the guys that get paid top dollar. When I get people that I know I can depend on, who I know will open or they will close, it's like everybody wants to have off or they want to have off. They don't want to work a station alone. They don't want to open and they don't want to close. It's like, well, great. I need 8, 9, 10 people on the schedule. I would love to pay more because there's only a certain percentage of sales that I can allocate to kitchen labor. So it's two-part. It's like the kitchen staff has to know that if they want more money, there has to be more effort, and the ownership has to know, like, I need to make sure these people are getting paid. So there has to be like a meeting. There's no, like, I see posts like this all the time. The industry has to do better at taking care of its people.
Yeah.
Is it I mean, I don't know, like, because people that say that, I don't think they have a really deep understanding of restaurant economics. I would love for everybody in my kitchen to make $40, $50 an hour. But if I explain to you what that looks like, and it's not more hours, it's not, but it's like, you have to open or you have to close. You have to work Sunday, and like, that's kind of what it is. And it's like, I can't pay you, $75,000 a year as a line cook, and you not want to open or close and not want to work Sunday, and you want to, call out every other Saturday. And it's like, so I try to really teach, like, so there's an opportunity there. If you can prove to be that person that the chef can count on, you'll get the money. The money will come. I'm a big believer in doing the work, prove the ethic, the money will come. There's like this blockage where people feel like, well, I'm not going to do it if you don't pay me. I'm not going to do it if you don't pay me. I'm not going to do it if you don't pay me. And I think that's why everybody ends up stuck.
Yeah. So my personal journey, and you hit it right on the nail. And it's something that people have asked me as well. And no one's holding you against your will to work at that location or at that restaurant.
Yeah.
You definitely have the freedom to move to a different restaurant that will serve your best interests in terms of your mental health, your physical health, as well as your personal time with family and yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I guess for me, because I had gained a lot of weight at the time, and again, I was going from job to job, commuting, and the easiest thing for me to grab was like Jack in a Box or Carl's Jr. I think Hardee's is over there, right? So it's easy, it's fast, it's quick, and I'm tired of cooking, so I want someone else to cook for me, you know. And so at the end of the day, when I was finally offered that kitchen manager job at that sports bar, I was able to more focus on my health and focus on being with the family at the time
Mhm.
and being with my newborn son at when that had happened, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, when I guess it's just for me, I had to put in the work, and then, you know, I was able to take care of that and take care of the family and then take care of myself after that. So, but yeah, that's just my personal thing.
But you figured it out, like, but
Yeah,
there's always, listen, man, there's always a level of sacrifice in any start to any journey.
right.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? Like, that's just life. That's every industry. That's being a cop. My friends that are cops are low on the pay scale. They have off. They work holidays. It's like the older guys get off on Christmas. Any thing you go into, and I think it's for some reason, like, people, they forget that when you decide you want something out of life, there's a price you have to pay, and when you're paying it, you get kind of, you lose sight of the bigger vision. It's like, not supposed to be forever. Are there career line cooks? Yeah. A lot of line cooks aren't in this for life. They're kind of transient. And the ones that are like lifers in the industry kind of come up through the ranks and they go on. And so I just think there's a period of time where, like, yes, the money's not there, but if you do the right things, it worked for me, right? I told you, I went down to Atlantic City. I took a job that was way beneath me. And within a year, I was Gordon Ramsay's, on TV with him. And I'm very big into, like, what's the next play, and I get it. People have kids and they have family, and I know that. That's a personal decision, but you have to make that decision. Is this what you want? Can you figure out how to do that? I sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to pull two jobs for a year or two, and you dig your way out of it. You start, you learn skills, and then you get to a point where you've amassed so much skill, you have such a good work ethic, you've built a great personal brand and reputation within the business that people are willing to say, wow, this guy, this is what he did in his last restaurant. This is the review he got. And within a couple of years, you should be able to, like, make the money you need to make and want, quite frankly. But again, I'm trying to really, even restaurants that I consult with, trying to come up with new ways to always kind of, how do we compensate people? How do we make it enticing? Is there a bonus structure for the whole kitchen staff? Do we allocate a portion of the sales for that? Because I tell you what, if every restaurant every year said, we're going to give $35,000 to the kitchen staff, do you think the kitchen would want more or less people on the schedule?
Yeah, more.
So I think both sides of this equation have to start thinking about how can we all meet each other in the middle to save the business, right? It's not like people need to work harder and restaurants need to pay more. It's like, it's kind of like we're not getting anywhere, right, as an industry. So I'm always thinking about that, but we definitely need a certain level of productivity because it's all math. It's just math, right? X amount of dollars go to your rent, X amount of dollars go to your payroll, X amount of dollars go to this and that. And the national restaurant average last year for restaurants was 2.8%.
Yeah.
Profit. So there's not a whole lot of wiggle room. So, it's going to take a collective effort of people in this industry, owners and people that work in it. And I even think at some point in time, like, legislation has to talk to, because this industry is such an important part of society. And it has been for centuries. Like, restaurants are so important. I'm not talking about the big box stores that are attached to malls. I'm talking about the independent restaurants that are doing 3-4 million, that are family owned, that employ people that grow up in the neighborhood and enrich lives. And it's like, I hope to see, like, some type of incentivization from the government. Like, okay, you're an owner doing the right thing by your staff. Like, this is how we're going to help you with certain tax breaks or incentives. If you're going to, that's where I want to see the world go to.
Yeah, no, I definitely see where you're coming from with that.
Other
So Chef,
businesses,
what was that?
No, I said there needs to be some type of, Assistance.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on that. It's just, yeah, you hit it right on the nail again. It really does have a lot to do with having a good balance,
Mhm.
right? We want to take care of our team, but we also want to still profit.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. It's really hard, especially right after 2020. It's been way more difficult than than before.
It's always been a hard. I say it all the time. The business has always been hard. It's just COVID is really, the
Yeah,
post COVID, all things, not just COVID, but like all things that have transpired over the last 6 years.
yeah,
Hyperinflation. I get it. I get it all the time. Like I understand that the cost of housing is ridiculous.
yeah,
Like especially in like a state like New Jersey, like an apartment's $3,000 a month. You know, at the same time, it's like, how do we? Okay, I can pay my cooks more, but I need less cooks in the kitchen. But if work ethic is something that's missing in my kitchen, and I can't have 15 people making $60,000 in my kitchen, it just doesn't
yeah.
work. So it's like everybody has to kind of do their part, and that's you know where we have to get to.
So, chef, where can we find you?
So you can find me on everything is Chef James Avery. My Instagram handle, my Twitter, YouTube, website. So you just punch in Chef James Avery. Make sure you put chef. There's a couple of famous James Averys. So if you want to find me, you got to put the chef in there first.
Awesome. And then last question. If kind of I'm kind of stealing this question from another podcaster, but um if there were three chefs or people in the hospitality industry that you'd like to see on my show, who would it be?
Oh man. Hmm. My friend Dave Breeden, pretty much, God, there's so many. That's a hard one. Eric Levine would be good. He's the guy that did the 75 hard. I can send you his contact. Uh, David Breeden, he's really good. He was from the French Laundry. He was on Andres as well. I think Chef Michelle from Hell's Kitchen, she'd be a good one too. I could maybe hit her up.
Awesome. Well, chef, again, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to speak with you. And I know you're a very busy man, so thank you for taking the time to sit with me and speak
Pleasure.
with me.
Thanks for having me on.